In the previous lecture, we created these two new applications inside of App Center. We created one for our iOS project and one for our Android project. But we don't have those projects just yet. So let's go ahead and create them. I am going to navigate over to Visual Studio. And in here, I am going to create a new project. This is still going to be a blank Forms application. If you know how to use Shell already, feel free to select that one. But I'm going to be using the blanks form app in here. I am going to, since this is going to be a Redbooks application, name the app something like that. Of course, I will create the version for both Android and iOS. I am, in this case, going to be initializing with git version control and the gitignore file from here. Previously, we had done this from the terminal. This time I am going to be doing the git init directly from here, and I'm going to click on create. Very soon, I am going to have my application ready. Now, before moving forward, I want to show you something. I am going to open my terminal. Let me clear it and navigate over to that new project that I have just created. This is the Redbooks project. And you will notice that by default, I already have that Git repository ready. This is the brand new project that I have just created, and it already has a repository. If I run git status, I will see that indeed there is something in here. Git has already been initialized. And of course, you already see all of those new files that have been created and that have even already been staged. Now, if you execute git log, you may also already find one commit in here. I believe that some versions of Visual Studio on Windows make an initial commit for you as soon as you create the project if you mark to initialize a repository when creating that project. If you don't see any commits here just yet, it's okay. I'm actually going to be committing them. All of those changes that have already been staged in here. And just as we learned in the previous section, I can do that by executing commit-am to add this file that is still missing from being tracked and set a message, initial commit, and execute this. Now, if I run git log, I should see that new commit. And if I execute git status, I should see that there is nothing to commit so far. So that is our initial commit. Like I mentioned, you should most of the times try and have that initial commit as soon as you create a project. Make sure that it is ready and that it is already tracking that first version of your application as soon as you create it. Now let's go ahead and start connecting App Center. And all of that is going to be happening from the app.saml.cs file. But before we do that, we need to add some packages. So over on the dependencies and the NuGet folder for my Redbooks.NET Standard library, I am going to right click here and select Add Packages. In here, I am going to be searching for App Center. And you will find many different packages listed in here. These may look a little bit different whether you are on Windows or on Mac, but you should find many packages that start with Microsoft.AppCenter. You will find a package for distribution, for authentication, crashes, analytics, push, data, pretty much all of those things that we have seen that App Center includes. The ones that we're going to be selecting right now are the crashes and the analytics ones. These are, by the way, also going to install the Microsoft App Center package. So these two are the ones that we're going to be using in this section. The analytics one is going to allow us to track all sorts of events, and the crashes one is going to allow us to track all of those exceptions that may happen, all of those bugs that our application may have. So with these two selected, I am going to add those packages. And you will have to do this for all three projects. You will do the same from the Android project in the packages folder, right click, add NuGet packages, and select both of them, as well as on the iOS project. All three projects will have to contain the packages. Again, right click on the packages, add NuGet packages, and select both the App Center Analytics and the App Center Crashes. While the packages are being installed, just make sure that you accept the license And this may happen all 3 times for each of the projects that we have. But once the packages have been added, you're good to go. So once these packages are added, what I will have to do is navigate over to the appcenter.cs file as I had mentioned before. And in here, I am going to start adding one of the classes that was added along that package. And the class is going to allow us to initialize App Center right here from our application. And that initialization is going to be quite easy. All we have to do is call one method. And I will do so on the onStart method that we have overridden inside of the app class. This is of course coming directly from the application class that the app class implements, and is going to be executed as soon as the application starts. So this is a very good place for us to call that method that I mentioned. And that method exists inside of the App Center class. And the App Center class itself exists within the Microsoft.AppCenter namespace that we have just added through one of the packages. And this App Center class is going to contain the start method. Now notice the start method, it has 2 overloads. The first one is simply going to require an array of services from App Center that we want to initialize. And the second one is also going to be requiring the app secret for all of our applications. This second overload is the one that we want to use. And let's quickly pass the first parameter that is simply going to be a string. I am going to be completing this in just a second. But next, let's pass that array of services that we're going to initialize. And these are actually going to be types of services that we want to use. And currently, we only want to use 2 services, the tracking service and the crashes service, or those 2 packages that we added, the appcenter.crashes and the appcenter.analytics. So that is exactly what I will pass in here as types. So I will use type of to get the type of the 2 services that I want. So I will start with the analytics one. And of course, the analytics class is inside of the Microsoft.AppCenter.analytics namespace. So I will add that using directive over here. And then, since I am going to be using also the crashes service, I am going to again use type of, and this time pass crashes. And crashes is going to be inside of Microsoft.AppCenter.crashes. So I add that using directive to the other namespace. So this is pretty much everything that I need. Of course, this string has to actually have something, but this is already a correct call for the start method inside of the App Center class. Now, inside of these double quotes, the string that I am building in here, I am going to pass an app secret for both iOS and for Android. So of course in here, I will have to get the app secret and copy it in these 2 places. And I pass it exactly like this. First one, for example, the iOS one, equal, then the app secret. And since I am going to be passing a second one, I have to add a semicolon and then that second one. And if I were to add a third one, for example, for a Windows application, I will have to add another semicolon, UWP, equal, and the app secret for that application. So let's go ahead and grab those app secrets. And those app secrets are of course going to be inside of each and every one of our applications over on App Center. So let's start with the iOS application. If I select it and navigate over to settings, here I will be able to find the app secret, although it is a bit hidden. You'll have to navigate all the way over here to the ellipsis on the top right hand corner, click on it and select copy app secret. This app secret is going to be very secret to you, and you should not share it with anyone. Now, I am going to be sharing it with you because I'm eventually going to be deleting those App Center applications anyway, but just make sure that this app secret remains secret to you. And so this app secret, I'm just going to paste it right here after iOS. And I will have to do the exact same thing for Android. So I now navigate to the Android version of my project, go to settings, click on the ellipsis and select copy app secret. Navigate back to Visual Studio and paste the app secret where it belongs, after the Android equal section. And there you have it. This is everything that you have to do to initialize those two services, the analytics and the crashes services for both our Android and iOS application. All of this, of course, directly from the .NET Standard library in the Xamarin Forms project. Now that the connection would have been established, we can start to send all of those crashes and all of those analytics that we want. That is exactly what we will start to do in the next lecture. We will learn how we can start to use analytics to track all kinds of events that happen on our application. Of course, for that, we're going to have to build the basic functionality for our Redbooks project so we can start tracking things like button clicks or something like that. So in the next lecture, we will start to build our Redbooks project.